thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us.
Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. It is Thursday, July 18th, and today is, get ready for this, Rico, it's National Tropical Fruit Day. And you can't have National Tropical Fruit Day. What's that?
When was Hot Dog Day? When was Glizzy?
That was yesterday. Was National Glizzy Day.
Yeah.
Yes.
Every day's National Glizzy Day.
You got to cleanse your palate. Today's the day of cleansing your palate of that Glizzy from you.
Well, you can't have Tropical Fruit Day without having National Dole Whip Day, of course.
Ooh.
Yes. And it's also National Sour Candy Day.
Ew. Rico likes
Shout
that.
out to those Patch Kids.
Mm-hmm. National Caviar Day. Shout out to all the caviar out there.
I'm there for that.
Yes, I'm there for that too. And it's also Get to Know Your Customers Day, Rico.
Oh, boy.
Just
kidding.
Yes. And thank you for joining us and getting high at 9 with us. It's also high noon on the East Coast. And please remember to like, share, and subscribe to us on all social media platforms. You can look up above or down below to see exactly where we live on the internet. And we are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.highat9news.com. But kicking it off first, that's right, it is the Quasimodo caretaker, the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, the man who did his hair today. Just for the show. We are so excited. So excited. Why don't you show him how that hair looks,
I don't think you understand how black hair works, Jason. So
no, he doesn't.
I understand exactly how black hair works.
No, he doesn't.
Exactly how you just throw a cap on and just fucking rock it out. Exactly. It is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
One of these days, Jason.
One of these days.
We shall overcome.
Why I auto, right?
All right, I got a question for everybody today. Will a half-assed endorsement for federal cannabis reform end up being the medicine and ailing American Democratic Party needed all along? Will it be the medicine? No, probably not. But we can talk about it. According to Marijuana Moment's Kyle Yeager, the Democratic National Committee is touting President Joe Biden's marijuana pardons and rescheduling moves while calling for broader reform to expunge prior records. However, unlike in 2020, the party's latest draft platform that was approved by a party committee on Tuesday does not promote broader decriminalization. Why? The party is also blasting former President Donald Trump, the newly named Republican presidential nominee, over his prior administration's anti-cannabis actions. As the November election approaches, DNC is taking a note from the president, describing the cannabis pardons he's issued as one of his quote-unquote historic steps Biden has taken to promote criminal justice reform in his first term. I'm trying my best not to make any jokes about Biden tripping, falling, because he is not taking any real historic steps that we know of. But anyways, no one should be in jail just for using or possessing marijuana, it says, echoing the president's increasingly common refrain. Sending people to prison for possession has upended too many lives and incarcerated people for conduct that many states no longer prohibit. It says those criminal records impose needless barriers to employment, housing, and educational opportunities, and disproportionately affecting Black and brown people. No one should be in jail for using or possessing marijuana. Sending people to prison for possession has upended too many lives and incarcerated people for conduct that many states no longer prohibit. Those criminal records impose needless barriers to employment, housing, and educational opportunities, disproportionately affecting Black and brown people. And Biden took historic action to end this failed approach by pardoning people convicted federally for using or possessing marijuana. He has called on governors to use their pardon power to do the same for state-level offenses, and his administration is taking a major step to reschedule marijuana so it's no longer classified as more dangerous than fentanyl or methamphetamine. Per the article, Gay Valamont, a DNC delegate who is running against incumbent Matt Gaetz,
he's gonna lose.
Homeboy
doesn't have a chance. Big fat loser.
He was looking like a cartoon character last night. He's up on that Botox, bro. Mm-hmm. Anyways,
did you see him call out Kevin McCarthy?
I love elephant fights.
Yeah.
Touched on the issue on Tuesday's DNC platform committee hearing, reiterating that the platform showcases President Biden's action to improve the criminal justice system by taking a major step to reschedule marijuana and pardoning those federally convicted of marijuana-only offenses. The platform, meanwhile, also says that Democrats will take action to expunge federal marijuana-only convictions, while Biden had repeatedly suggested pardons already cleared records. He more recently clarified that that is not the case. While pardons represent formal forgiveness, a president cannot unilaterally expunge records. Yeager then highlighted that notably, the party's position on decriminalizing cannabis is not explicitly mentioned in this year's platform. Even though it's a policy Biden previously campaigned on, he's been largely silent on decriminalization since being elected, despite Vice President Kamala Harris calling for broader marijuana legalization in a recent closed-door roundtable discussion with pardon recipients. 4 years ago, this was a major part of them reaching across the aisle and trying to get, the cannabis users, the red cannabis users, Jason, Beck, and Jenny Beth Dills, like those people. He's trying to draw them over, but it did not work. So I also want to talk about 4 years ago. The Safe Banking Act was on its third round of being passed by the U.S. House of Representatives, but predictably, DOA once again when it reached the U.S. Senate. The idea that cannabis would never be a serious or important enough issue to take precedence over any other major parties' agenda items left any kind of meaningful reform on a federal level in political purgatory. Even though 4 years later, 75% of the whole damn country's moved forward on their own terms, this is where we are still today. Meanwhile, on the other side, Republican National Convention is drawn to a close tonight, and I'm sure people, more people than not, are grateful that this year's election season is finally coming to a close. It's entering its final stages.
Is it?
The right's presumptive nominee is all but formally confirmed to accept his party's nomination this evening. And if you let them tell it, talking about you, Jason, them, you, Jenny Beth.
That's fine.
Them. The vibes have never been better.
They haven't.
Even though ratings for this year's RNC are the worst since Mitt Romney's last run, in the wake of Donald Trump's survival of an attempted assassination this past weekend, the Republicans are indeed unified. Both of Trump's biggest primary foes came out to kiss the ring this week. Bird brain Nikki Haley and meatball Ron DeSantis, the latter of which quadrupled down on his delusional prohibitionist rhetoric, saying that reform gives you limitless constitutional right to possess and smoke. And oh yeah, that whole 20 joints comment from last week, he's talking about 80 now. He said, "Oh, it's up to 40 joints."
It's 4 packs of joints.
Is that what he said? This is what he said last night. This dude's really saying this shit. So he said, "I think it's up to like what 40 joints. Is that what the 3 ounces would be? 40? More than that? 80 joints? Something like that." it will be bad for quality of life. It will make Florida more blue. We've got to be united as Republicans and do what's right. And he also wanted to warned that reform would open allow open consumption in privately owned restaurants. So I guess at least with this year's election,
awesome.
Americans are once again forced to choose between a giant douche and a turd sandwich. But this time, it's not just the candidates; it's the company they carry with them. I implore everybody, take a step back and just light that match and walk away.
Oh, God.
It's all over, man.
Oh, God.
I'm Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News, and I'm optimistic about me, my family, and everything that I can control. But things on the broad level, trash, garbage.
Oh, boy.
You know, it's funny, Jason. I found this one in the car this morning, and I knew Rico was going to cover it because there was a little bit of mud to sling at the RNC. Mm-hmm. We discussed this, and then I looked
slinging at both sides as usual. All y'all hear is y'all need to clean your ears out because all you hear is me talking shit about the Republicans. I talk
now Rico's
just as much, if not more, about Joe Biden and his.
Did you really though?
Y'all can keep it. That's why I'll never fuck with y'all.
I don't know. Let's put up a poll. Let's ask the audience. Let's ask them if they think that Rico talked more shit about the Republicans or the Democrats in this story. I want to hear what the audience has to say about this. That's going to be the determining factor, right? Because all I heard was trash talk on Republicans. Just on this story. Okay. Just on this story.
Keep it granular.
Yeah. How about you? How about you guys give me your take on the DNC like moving towards?
Come on.
Is this going to be their saving grace? Is this going to save the election that they gave away this year?
Not a chance. Not a chance. They are strictly doing this to pander to try to gain more voters. That's all that they are trying to do because they know that they have lost this election before it even started.
I'd like to see what the numbers right now are reporting for black and brown voters because that's who they're pandering to right now with all this rhetoric. So I would love to see what happened over the weekend to those approval ratings for President Trump.
Y'all trust polls again now?
Only the ones you swing on, Rico.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no! It's carrot season, y'all. Come on. Carrot. It's time to dangle them. It's time to dangle them. We've got nothing but lip service so far from these historic moves that Biden's made for cannabis. It's more of the same.
You call them historic?
We'll see.
Stone?
We'll see how serious the talk is after the election.
You call them historic?
I can't wait for this shit to be over, man.
No, I'm saying it's mostly lip service for the supposed historic moves. I mean, yeah, he's done enough to where it is historic. I mean, it's the other presidents haven't done what he's done, but
what has he done?
What he's done really only appeals to people who don't know much about the industry. It sounds good to, Joe, little soccer mom, and all the people that aren't doing stuff with cannabis every day. It sounds good. Joe Biden, we pardon people. No,
I'm confused as to what he's done.
You have to explain it to the layman. So it is what it is.
I think saying and doing are two very different things. And he said that he was doing some things, but we know that those policies that he put into place don't actually do anything. And fortunately, I'm also a soccer mom, so I'm out there at practice telling people what's what.
But isn't the whole point of running for office proving to people that you will do what you say? Fuck all this double speak. Yeah, like for real, man. Like, why don't you do what you say? How about that? How about we start putting people in power?
That's why Trump's going to go back in office because he at least does what he says.
100%.
Oh, he doesn't. He is the king of saying one thing and doing the other.
I don't know.
Look, Rico's pendulum is swinging.
Yeah, he is. It's swinging back.
I'm actually sitting down right now.
I'm going to get you a purple hat, Rico.
What do you think about all this, Rachelle? All this pandering.
I think it's definitely political theater. That's for sure. And it's interesting how the Biden camp is leaning into this conversation. To me, it shows that they are really, really concerned with courting young voters and black and brown communities. Clearly, they know they need them, and they know that they have a battle for them raging. And so, yeah, I don't actually think that there's much progress being made personally, but it's political theater.
Yes, it definitely is some political theater, and I'm all here for it. I love the kabuki theater. I'm all the way for it all day. That's fantastic.
Never mind.
Bullshit. What it all is. It continues.
Jason, answer this for me.
Sure.
Do you believe that this is going to be the most consequential American election of all time?
Yes, because every election is the most consequential election of our time, Rico. And yes, I encourage everyone to go vote and make sure that they vote red, down ticket. And on that, we're going to go to a commercial and we're going to be right back.
Oh man, that was weird. Hey, you America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
Yeah, but Trump got it, though.
Anyways, up next, we have the highest Republican in every room that he walks into, known for smoking the best weed in the world, and also known for just saying whatever comes to mind, no matter what it means, or if there's anything backing those words, because
I'm always backing my words, Rico.
Ride or die Republican.
Mm-hmm.
True, through and through.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Beck.
All the way. Oh, man, Rico. Good morning, you guys. I have some great news for everyone that will be joining the Trump administration, you guys. Coming. Because the Dubie Act looks to ease security clearance restrictions on past marijuana use, you guys. That's right. Congress members are continuing a push to change how agencies view individuals' past marijuana use in the security clearance and federal hiring processes. A new bill that Senator Gary Peters, a Democrat out of Michigan, chairman of the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee, introduced last week, aims to limit how much weight agencies can place on past marijuana use when considering applications for federal jobs or security clearances. In a quote, current federal law allows highly qualified individuals to be denied federal employment or security clearances based on past use of marijuana or cannabis products, despite legalization at state levels. Peters wrote in a press release on Wednesday, this misalignment between evolving state laws, federal guidance, and actual hiring practices has created a barrier for talented individuals seeking federal employment, which could limit the government's ability to compete for top talent. The new bill, nicknamed the Dubie Act, focuses on easing restrictions for those who have used marijuana in the past, either for adult use purposes or for medical reasons. Under the legislation, agencies wouldn't be able to deny a federal job application and security clearance application or other federal credentials based solely on an individual's prior use of marijuana. HSGAC is expected to take up the bill for consideration and possible advancement during an upcoming hearing on July 24th. And the proposed changes outlined in Peters' bill, however, are already largely in place at agencies, and both the Office of the Director of National Intelligence and the Office of Personnel Management published updated guidance on the topic back in 2021. ODNI's guidance, while saying that the illegal use of a controlled substances can raise security concerns, also says an individual's prior use of adult use marijuana shouldn't be the determining factor in granting a clearance. I find it interesting that they said past usage. And nonetheless, but similarly, OPM's guidance directed agencies not to automatically preclude federal applicants from job opportunities solely based on past discontinued use of marijuana. So they're both in the same page on that. But in a quote, while federal agencies including OPM and ODNI have issued guidance stating that past marijuana use alone should not disqualify candidates, many potential applicants remain hesitant to pursue federal positions due to a fear of automatic disqualifications, Peters wrote. The Dubie Act would align federal hiring practices with current guidance on past marijuana use, broaden the applicant pool by providing clarity for prospective federal employees, and help the government compete with the private sector for talent. The Dubie Act claims to take the practices outlined by the ODNI and OPM a small step further by codifying them. Ryan Narney, managing partner of the Ladera Ranch, California office at law firm Tully Wrinkley, told the Federal News Network in a quote, "This bill would just solidify that because right now that's just the guidance within various different agencies," Narney said in an interview, "especially intelligence agencies. Even though this guidance came out, they still have stricter views on marijuana use when it comes to that. So potentially codifying this as an automatic bill from Congress might make this so that the guidance that has been in place since 2021 a little bit more expansive," he says. House efforts to lift restrictions in the clearance process in Peters' bill is the latest effort in Congress, but it dovetails with several other members who have been pushing to ease restrictions on marijuana use by federal employees and government job applicants. Last fall, House Oversight and Accountability Committee took up a companion bill to the Dubie Act. The House legislation, nicknamed the Cure Act, similarly aims to prohibit agencies from considering past marijuana use while hiring for federal jobs or during the security clearance process. But the House bill, if enacted, would take things a further step by requiring agencies to create a review process to look back at past security clearance and job applications. Agencies could reconsider previously denied applicants based solely on individuals' marijuana use, according to the bill. And the bipartisan Cure Act, first introduced by Representative Jamie Raskin, Democrat from Maryland, and Nancy Mace, my girl from South Carolina, last July, advanced out of the Oversight Committee in a vote of 30 to 14 last fall. But the legislation so far has not been slated for a House floor vote. Well, that's because we got the speaker in there and we need to get rid of him, but whatever. In a quote, "The Cure Act will ensure that talented individuals seeking to honorably serve our country are not precluded from doing so simply because they admitted to having once used marijuana," Raskin said in a 2023 press statement following the Oversight Committee's advancement of the legislation. And this article goes on and on and on, and if you want to read the rest of it, you can go on head over to our website at www.highat9news.com and check it all out for yourself. But I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this. And this is Jason Beck for the High at 9 News. What do y'all think?
Well, I think it's great.
I think it's great too.
Dana Rohrabacher back in the White House.
The Dubie Act.
Dubie Act.
Mm-hmm.
Why we keep on having these dumbass names?
I think that's one of the coolest parts about legislation in DC is their ability to create acronyms that are funny and cute.
But how are you gonna take it serious though, man?
Then they all
it's
look
the
at each other
Dubie
and
Act so that
laugh.
you can smoke weed
Indubitably.
And then they laugh at it, and then they just go on to the next issue.
I mean, come on. I'd laugh at everything in Washington.
I mean, that's not true
dude.
because we know that they hide some kind of taxation or some kind of other policy in every bill they write about everything. So they definitely discuss parts
I don't think
of
there's
it.
any taxation in this bill.
No, probably not. But there's something hidden somewhere in it, in the deep, deep pages.
Oh man, this
Past where we read.
conspiracy theories again.
That's not a theory. Come on, Jason.
I'm not buying it.
All right.
I think it's about
Well,
time
good, I'm not selling it
they
to you.
disconnected. I think it's about time they disconnected marijuana use and being an honorable human being. Because that's what's at the heart of this. That, if you smoke weed, somehow you can't be trusted, you're dishonorable, you have no ethics, you're a piece of shit. And it's just not true. But the military and cops and, getting security clearances still have this underlying feeling that my mama told me that you're a bad human being if you smoke weed, so therefore we can't trust you in these positions if you smoke weed. It's just nonsense, but it's prevailing still.
Yeah, that's the part that I agree with most for sure, is like, especially past cannabis consumption, is like, oh God, you smoked pot one time, like clearly you're not fit for any of these jobs. So yeah, that makes me feel
That's
really
horseshit.
good, the normalization and the
To me, that's a horseshit policy.
Yeah, but it's got a long tradition in this country.
There's lots of long
going
traditions.
back to the Mexican Revolution in 1910, they were demonizing people that were brown in color and smoking weed, and that went to black people who play jazz music. My God, can't be trusted. And we're still seeing that. And it's kind of in the DNA of people who don't want this to happen, that they firmly believe you cannot be a decent human being if you've ever smoked weed. And it's just absolute nonsense, but we continue to see it.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. What do you think about this, Stone?
I like it. I mean, there's nothing not to like about it, and unless you're Rico and you don't like the Dubie name. But
isn't that a stupid name to not like it?
I
like the name.
Where he's coming from. I understand. I mean, some people will instantly turn that off and just,
It's got to come from someone who at some point admitted to smoking one doobie, like the summer of '69.
He's a Democrat from Michigan.
You know what I mean? Like,
I like it.
It's cute.
But here's what I'm saying. We have old white men that don't have senses of humor that are running our government. You're trying to push this shit forward with a funny name.
I just can't,
and they're just not going to take it serious.
And a
I just can't
brother
believe
on a
that
Thursday didn't find it funny.
And I can't believe that I found a story, celebrating some work that the Democrats did, and I'm getting so much grief for it. I can't believe it.
Rico's trying to change his narrative.
Mm-hmm. I see what he's doing.
It's growth. We're going to allow it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I commend you on your blue story.
You guys love gaslighting me, and I see what you're trying to do there.
Yeah.
I was trying to get a rise out of me and everything, but it ain't gonna happen.
Trying to make you like the yeast.
I am 100% for everything that this act is about.
Okay.
And
didn't sound like it.
I love everything about it, but
even the name,
better names, so we can actually get shit like this passed on a broader level.
So you think that the name of the bill hinders its ability to get passed?
Hold one moment, because I've never had a problem passing a doobie, and I think that when they pass the doobie, it's fucking even better. Like, that's amazing, Rico.
Yeah, they're gonna pass. Congress is gonna pass the doobie on the floor of Congress.
This man gets to say that he passed the doobie in Congress, and I think that might be
that's gonna be a great
name,
headline.
But it's a great headline, and Rico, I hope you picked that story up.
I want to point out that New Jersey passed the CREAM Act. Now let's talk about all the double entendres in the CREAM Act.
I'm gonna mind my business.
Was there any sugar with that cream, Dale?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it ain't half and half, let me tell you.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of all this cream, we're going to roll right into attorney Mr. Dale Schafer. He's the founder of Armada Law, and at one point in time did some time for a cannabis crime. Here to show you how to piss up a rope and how to be a crazy T.O. Loco is none other than Mr. Dale Schafer.
Cream of the crop.
Mm-hmm.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm in a dancing mood this morning. The Dubie and CREAM Act have got me going here.
Oh, boy.
There you go, Jenny, Beth.
Yep.
Today's story comes out of Law 360, and it's a continuing theme of trying to get gun rights for people who smoke weed. When I was looking at this yesterday, my first flush was, this is continuation, and we'll look at it down the line. Then I read the government's brief, and it pissed me off. The nonsense they put into this to oppose people who smoke weed getting gun rights. Now, what happened here is that two marijuana users and someone who wanted to buy guns, but he didn't think he could if he used marijuana. They sued the federal government over a gun law that says you can't buy or possess a gun or ammunition if you're an illegal user of controlled substances, including marijuana. And they didn't challenge the law as it was written. They challenged as it was applied to marijuana. Okay? And this was based upon the Bruin case, came down 2 years ago, and they got their case dismissed. And this, I assume, was a case they were going to file, knew they were going to have losses along the way. They wanted to get it up the chain of command to the appellate court and the Supreme Court, see if they could finally challenge this. Well, as the appeal was getting perfected, the Supreme Court last October accepted a case called Rahimi, where a guy had been denied his gun rights because he had, threatened his significant other with a gun, got a restraining order against him, domestic violence, blah, 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 blah. And so they put the whole case on hold until the federal government decided the Rahimi case. And when the federal Supreme Court, I'm sorry, not the government, when the Supreme Court decided it, they took a look back historically at what they had done with people that were similarly situated and tried to look for analogous situations. And I remember commenting, what the hell does an analogy mean? How do we do this? And they pointed to people who were intoxicated. They would, if you were drunker than Hogan's goat, they might take your guns away from you. If you're going to a party where everyone's going to get drunk, they might restrict guns at the party. Or if you were traveling armed or going armed and you were a threat to people, they could take your guns away from you if you were an armed menace out there. Okay, that was historically where they decided Rahimi, and they're still back in the period of 1789 to 1791. And I think that's where the Supreme Court wants them to look and stop all the let's weigh and balance people's interests here. It's like, no, read the goddamn amendment. What does it say? And how did they handle this in the 1791 when this became the law of the land? And that's where we want to focus our attention. So what I saw in the brief here is that in order to say that marijuana users are dangerous somehow, the court received from the federal government the following information in their brief. Individuals who possess firearms while engaged in the regular use of illegal drugs endanger public safety in multiple ways. First, drug users may mishandle firearms or use firearms to commit crimes because of drug-induced changes in their physiological cognitive ability and mood. Okay, yeah, horseshit, but there we have it. Second, illegal drug users may commit crime in order to obtain money to buy drugs. Oh yeah, okay, we're gonna go knock off a liquor store to go buy a doobie. Okay. Third, violent crime may occur as part of the drug business or culture. And fourth, armed drug users endanger themselves. Most gun deaths are suicide, not homicides, okay? And drug users, including marijuana users, pose a higher risk of suicide than ordinary citizens. Now, when I read this, I got to tell you, it can piss me off. But it's like when I point out what the DEA has to say in their pleadings and when they make official statements, now you get to see what the Department of Justice has to say about marijuana when you ask them to justify why you want to take guns away from marijuana users. This is absolute nonsense. They also made an analogy that as we turned into the 20th century, governments around the United States were increasingly taking action to try and limit the people who were addicted to drugs from having guns. Okay, well, that's a whole nother logical fallacy that we're dealing with here, because I don't know if you remember that the British dumped opium in China, didn't give two shits about it, but when opium appeared in London, all of a sudden, we got a major problem here. And as we entered the 20th century, there were conservative, we might call them evangelical Christians today, who took over the anti-alcohol movement, who took over the anti-drug movement, and they were able to push what we call the Harrison Anti-Narcotic Act of 1912, but they never got marijuana included. And it wasn't until 1937 that marijuana became federally illegal, because people were looking around going, I don't buy all the bullshit we're hearing about smoking weed's going to make white women want to marry black men or some nonsense like that. They didn't buy it. And it was economic factors that brought marijuana to be illegal in 1937. And I don't know if you know who John Ehrlichman was, but he worked for Nixon in 1970, when they passed the Controlled Substances Act, he was pretty clear that they put marijuana as a prohibited substance. They'd go out and prosecute the hippies, and they made heroin in that same category because they wanted to prosecute the blacks, who I might add were showing up strapped with guns at these events and scaring the shit out of these white folks. Oh, the historical perspective on how substance use was used to take away your gun rights is just not there. The most analogous substance out there is alcohol. because if you get shit-faced with alcohol and you're dangerous, maybe you shouldn't be strapped with a gun. They take it away temporarily, give it back to you when you're sober. But other than that, that's how they dealt with drugs until we get into the 20th century, and marijuana wasn't included until 1937. So what I'm seeing here is the federal government is trying to throw as much mud against the wall as it can to get it to stick, but they're throwing mud about us, people who consume cannabis. That again, we can't be trusted. Oh, we just might go out and knock off somebody's a bank to get money to buy weed. We might kill ourselves. Oh, there's guns and crime involved in the drug business. Well, that may all be true, but that's all based upon prohibition of drugs, not what the drugs do to you. So what I see here is continuing nonsense coming out of the federal government about why you should not be able to have a gun, buy a gun, possess it, get ammunition if you smoke weed. This is an ongoing slap in the face to those of us who do this and know that, you can trust me watching your grandkids. Just because I smoke weed doesn't mean I'm going to go out and throw them off a bridge or some bullshit like that. And we need to move away from this nonsense, but it continues to rear its ugly head. And when I see it, I call it out. I'm going to throw this back at you. What do you all think about this nonsense coming out of the Department of Justice?
This is all nonsense, Dale. Yeah, the fact that they're even trying to make these arguments in regards to this substance is just kind of atrocious and an infringement on all Americans' constitutional rights to have the freedom and liberty to choose what they want to choose.
Right.
And they're fucking hypocrites. I mean, Jesus Christ. Every one of these people is okay with gun owners drinking alcohol. And I had looked it up. An estimated 1 in 3 gun homicide perpetrators drank heavily before murdering their victims. There was 18,450 homicides last year. So roughly 6,150 people were murdered by drunks. And we're talking about not allowing cannabis users to possess a gun is stupid. Just so stupid.
To be fair, it is also against the law to have a gun in your possession while you're drinking alcohol. But, they don't prohibit the ownership, which I think is the problem.
It's not illegal to own one, though, if you drink alcohol.
Yeah, it's illegal to be like toting around and firing it off if you're drunk.
Yeah, because alcohol is liquid stupid. Guns don't have any content. You pull that trigger, it's going to hit whatever's in front of it.
Very true. Very true. I had a friend. He was the lead homicide prosecutor, and he told me that he had never read a police report that involved cannabis with any type of domestic violence or any type of shooting, homicide unless it was in regards with like a drug deal gone bad type of thing. But that wasn't. You know what I'm saying?
Different. Yeah,
that's a different type of set of circumstances.
Your wife pisses you off, you go outside, smoke a joint, come back in, and have dinner with the family.
And drug deals going bad. Go ahead. Sorry.
Most homicides are personal. Kill people you know.
Exactly.
And liquid stupid, it lowers your inhibitions and it heightens your anger. And so the next thing you know, you're fighting with somebody and you shoot them. And as Jenny Beth knows, hey, if you're fighting with the old lady, go out and smoke a joint. Okay, look at the stars, walk around, come back in. Okay, admit what you did and admit your wife's right and move on with life.
Yes, admit she's. Dale, say that again for Mrs. Schafer. Admit your wife's right.
Admit you're wrong and admit your wife's right and just move on.
I love that.
Marijuana helps you come to that realization. It's a happy marriage if your wife is right all the time and you keep her happy.
I mean, Rachelle, you're getting ready to get married. What do you think about that?
Yes, she is.
It's not the man's. I just gotta say, it's not the man's job to keep the wife happy. She has to make sure that she finds her own happiness.
Did you say Rachelle or Rachelle?
Oh, you.
I said Rachelle.
Yeah, I thought so.
Rachelle,
I'm here. I agree with both. With Rico and Dale on this, like people have personal responsibility, but I am always right, so there's that too.
See, I feel you on that. And Stone, you were saying something, Stone?
I like that.
Say that again? No, I said what I said.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Well, on that,
did I start to say something else? I don't remember.
You did. It's all right. It's all right. We're going to roll into a commercial. We're going to be right back. What the hell was that? I just ordered the summertime strawberry salad when added steak on top here at Anna's. Make sure you do the same thing too next time you're in downtown Long Beach. Come on down and check out Anna's joint on the 400 block of Pine Street. They have amazing selection of beers, foods, and when you come down here to Anna's, you can even challenge me to a game of shuffleboard if you want to lose. Did you get that? So, next time you're in downtown Long Beach on Pine Avenue, make sure you stop by Anna's Joint on the 400 block. Not only do they have Anna's Joint, this restaurant and bar, but they also have the amazing deli next door, and then next door to that, they have a very exotic flower shop. You may want to stop by and say hi.
I like your finger gun.
Oh, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. I know we'll appreciate it. You'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can read directly on our website at www.high9news.com.
The control tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The control tower from Highly Educated.
Our next correspondent is a cannabis and psychedelics reporter and editor at Green State, and she is always, always, always right. Coming to the stage next, none other than Rachelle Gordon.
Thank you, Rico, for validating that truth. Okay, so my piece this week was written by yours truly on greenstate.com. And the title is, New Data Shows This Unlikely Region is Dominating the Legal Pot Market. Who could it be? New markets emerge every year as cannabis legalization spreads across America. And for years, the West Coast was considered the undisputed weed leader. When the East Coast started to come online, there were high hopes, no pun intended, it would match that energy. But the coasts have seemingly faltered, whether due to shaky rollouts or declining sales. However, one unexpected region has quietly emerged as the new marijuana market leader, the Midwest. Let's go Midwest. Most people wouldn't consider flyover country a dominating force in cannabis, but the numbers don't lie. Michigan recently overtook California as the #1 weed state by sales per capita, selling more than 22 million cannabis products in March alone. Illinois has also seen consistent year-over-year growth, already hitting $1 billion in sales this year, 2 weeks earlier than it did in 2023. Meanwhile, here in Minnesota, the booming hemp-derived THC market is bringing in $130 million in sales annually. THC drinks are now sold at grocers, liquor stores, and served on tap. And this popularity has led to other states taking a leap of faith in the hopes of cashing in. There are a number of theories as to why the Midwest is experiencing a marijuana boom. Cannabis consultant Hirsch Jane believes Michigan is beating California thanks to its lower prices and wider availability. Quote, in Michigan, blue-collar people can afford cannabis products at a price that is affordable to them, and they don't have to drive hours to do so, Jane recently told SF Gate. Illinois, which has some of the highest cannabis prices in the country, likely has its neighbors to thank for its success. Bordering states Wisconsin, Iowa, and Indiana do not have legal weed, instead heading into the land of Lincoln for their precious pot. Wisconsinites spent a staggering $121 million on Illinois cannabis in 2022 alone. The popularity of cannabis beverages in Minnesota was an unexpected development, but in hindsight makes perfect sense. First, the ability of craft beer brands to segue into THC is wholly unique, as is the widespread availability of the products. With a heavy drinking culture, weed bevies are a familiar entry point to cannabis for folks who may eschew smoking or vaping. Minnesota's adult use market is expected to launch fully next year. Analysts predict the land of 10,000 lakes will hit $1.5 billion in sales by the end of the decade. It's unclear whether the opening of recreational dispensaries will hurt hemp-derived THC sales, but local operators are seemingly unbothered. John Dugas, owner of Superior Molecular, and a Minnesota-based manufacturer of cannabis emulsion, aka the liquid weed in weed drinks, believes there will always be a place for so-called low-dose hemp-derived products. Quote, consumers will continue to buy drinks along with new products like vapes because of the way the state mainstreamed the market from the start, Dugas explained to Green State. Because Minnesota did not confine cannabis to dispensaries, we expect the new market to have less impact on the beverage category than if they would have launched at the same time. The Midwest may not be what people think when they consider weed. That may be changing as the region continues its meteoric rise in the marijuana marketplace. America's heartland is defying expectations as an example of legal weed done right, one state at a time. All right, Rachelle Gordon reporting for Green State. What do you guys think about this? Midwest folks, we're smoking pot and we're loving it.
Well, you got to find something to do out there, right? Because, I mean, doesn't it get a bit cold? Also, the Juicy Lucy sounds great when you're stoned.
I mean, Missouri is.
Oh, my God.
No, Missouri is eating everyone's lunch. Every single state. There's no other state, I think, that has a better market than Missouri currently right now.
Me and Rachelle were about to bond over the Juicy Lucy.
Cute.
Do you know what it is?
Yeah, fuck Missouri. But no, seriously, like they are. Missouri's, it's crazy. And so is Michigan. Like, and I anticipate Minnesota to do the same once more dispensaries open up. But
well,
even just the hemp-derived market.
Oh, sorry, Rachelle.
Tell us about the problems.
Oh, you want to hear the problems? They're finding some weird shit in their weed, and they're allowing some substances in there that probably shouldn't be in there, something that you're consuming, especially combusting first. So maybe we'll cover that later in the week.
I mean, we have covered a few stories out of Missouri. They have had a few things. They had the whole distillate debacle with the hemp-derived distillate.
It's because the water out there is tainted with meth.
We call it misery for a reason.
Is that what it is?
Mm-hmm.
That's Oklahoma, dude. No, I was kidding.
You guys are crazy.
Shout out to the Ozarks.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, Missouri's eating everyone's lunch. I think everybody knows it. That's where people are actually getting some money. And good job for them for, showing New York how to do it, I guess. But nonetheless, we're going to go to a commercial.
Shout out to cannabis beverages. They're continuing to rise, Jason.
No, they're not. Cans are getting crushed.
All right.
After they get smashed.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
Hi, I'm Smoky Vanilla. I have my bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on individuals that are in sport with chronic pain or injury. I love to intuitively create and customize a session based on the individual that I'm working with. We'll go over a few postural assessments, work together to create a wellness journey based on the health history, past injuries, or anything still affecting you today. And we'll get you back on your feet right away with less pain.
We're about to stretch, and then we're gonna smoke, because we're gonna get on our stretch and smoke. If you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to come on down and get a stretch and smoke with none other than Smoky Vanilla.
I'm glad you guys enjoy that.
We do. Always a good time. Poking fun at the bear.
Yes. Coming up next, that's right. It is the man from the great red state of Texas. He thinks it's blue because, men go colorblind. But nonetheless, maybe one of the reasons he's going colorblind is because when he wears a mask, we call him the Delta 8 Bandit. That's right. It is none other than Mr. Stone Slade.
One of these days, Alice.
That was great, Stone. That was good.
All right. Anyway, as we all patiently wait to see if the federal government is going to move cannabis from a classification it never should have had to another one it really doesn't deserve. Based on the recent rescheduling recommendations, Denver, a city that was way ahead of the curve in legalizing adult use cannabis, is now urging the federal government to go ahead and make that move to reclassify from Schedule 1 to Schedule 3. The city's been raking in tax dollars from cannabis sales for years, but as it turns out, the cannabis industry isn't as green as it looks. Sales have been sliding, and businesses are struggling to stay afloat. In May alone, Colorado saw $113 million in sales, which is a far cry from its peak year in 2021, when sales were roughly $80 million higher. Denver's message to the federal government is clear and urgent. Help us, but don't hinder us. Molly Deplechin, the executive director of Denver's Office of Marijuana Policy, stated, "This is essential so that marijuana businesses can continue to contribute to our economic prosperity." Denver's pushing for federal government to help to act on the Department of Justice's recommendations, but they're also insisting that any federal changes must respect state and local authority. They don't want Washington's decisions to interfere with the successful framework that they've built. Reclassifying cannabis, obviously, it could be a lifeline for these businesses, allowing them to be able to make tax deductions and get banking services without jumping through hoops. It could literally be a game changer. And let's not forget about the potential boost for research. Companies like Denver-based MedPharm Research, which studies cannabis for dementia and Alzheimer's treatments, have been stuck in the mud because of the strict federal regulations. Albert Gutierrez, president of MedPharm, is optimistic. He believes that moving cannabis to Schedule 3 would fast-track research by removing bureaucratic barriers. It could open doors for universities and other institutions to join the research efforts without fear of red tape. This could legitimize benefits of cannabis that we've all experienced anecdotally, but as with any good story, there are complications. Some folks aren't ready to see cannabis reclassified yet. There's calls for public hearings to be held after the presidential election. The Republican-led House Appropriations Committee has voted to block funding for the rescheduling process. Gutierrez puts it plainly, in this industry, nothing is ever finished until it's finished. As I mentioned before, Denver is making this bold push, but not just for reclassification, but also for state control on how to handle it. As the city commented to federal officials, stated, if marijuana is reclassified to Schedule 3, the authority of local jurisdictions should be supported by any federal regulations, which should allow states and localities to swiftly respond to local public health risks. Even with all the optimism in Denver, most defenders of Sweet Mary Jane are calling for cannabis to be removed from the schedule list altogether, arguing that reclassifying cannabis to a Schedule 3 could actually harm the industry. Under Schedule 3, cannabis would still be subject to federal regulations, which could impose new stringent rules on manufacturing, distribution, and, well, just about all areas of the current industry, leaving many wondering if reclassification could potentially stifle the very industry that it's trying to save. I'm Stone Slade, reporting for the High at 9 News.
Interesting. I mean, does Denver really think that Schedule 3 is all of a sudden going to make their businesses great again?
Well, I think getting that tax relief, I think is going to, it's going to be a big boost to some. Some, I'm sure, are too far gone to be saved, but, I could see it, I don't know.
They think that Schedule 3 is going to save dry weed.
It's not all dry, Jason. God bless America.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all dry. Thank you, Jenny Beth.
And honestly, let's be fair. Denver has been in a regulated state for so much longer than, say, California and other places from a recreational adult use standpoint that there are some businesses that are entrenched enough that that tax boost will just completely change their lives. And there are some that are still making hella money. So, I mean, Jason, I think you have to be a little bit more realistic and a little less judgy. If you don't like the weed, don't smoke it.
I don't.
Then fine.
I don't.
We settled it.
I don't understand how anyone does.
A lot of people do, and honestly, a lot of the concentrates in Denver.
I do believe that Colorado has great concentrates.
The great people at Allgreens.
Yeah.
But if you want to try some good Denver weed, smoke Deck by Peck.
I had a conversation with some Denver folks just 2 weeks ago, and 6 of them, as a matter of fact, and they all said that the weed out there is dry as fuck.
Mm-hmm. See, 6 out of 6. 6 out of 6 Coloradans. Believe.
6 out of 6 people that Rico knows can't find good weed. Well, then you know what? I'll put them in touch with some folks.
Was that Stone?
That's it. The cannabis out there has potential to be dry because of the climate, but there are some great growers out there that have great product, and if you get it,
it all gets turned into
when it hits the
hash.
shelf. What's that?
I said it all gets turned into hash.
Stop the cap.
The hash is good, but there's good flour. There is. You can't just dog the people. You just got to get it quick. It can't sit on the shelf too long.
You got to get it quick.
Yeah.
It's no shelf life out there.
I don't understand their optimism, guys.
I don't either,
really
Dale.
Don't. Because if you pressure coming inside the story I just covered, what the DOJ thinks about marijuana and the harms, the DEA has already showed their hand that they're not just going to allow people to walk in and take over the industry if it goes to Schedule 3. They're going to make it as difficult as they can to get a Schedule 3 license to manufacture it and transport it and sell it. And I think these people are just they're looking down the barrel of a shotgun about to blow their head off and trying to find good things to say about it. It's nonsense. This rescheduling thing is going to be drug out until after the election, and at that point, I have no idea where it's going to go. But the people that I represent, some of them equity, some of them because of color, but others because of criminal records, they don't have a snowball's chance in hell of getting a license to be in the regulated, controlled substance industry if it goes to Schedule 3. So, I mean, a lot of this is just wishing and hoping as you're waiting for them to take your head off. And you're not going to get shit for tax dollars. This is going to go to big pharma corporations who know how to do it, and it's wishing for something's going to kill the industry. I'm sorry.
Don't apologize.
Maybe it's already dead.
Listen, it's still like twitching a little bit.
Still twitching.
It's still
There's some
twitching.
life in there.
Yeah, I mean,
I was going to make a Joe Biden joke, but I'm gonna keep it to myself.
Oh wow. I'm gonna do something I've never done. Can I do it, Jason? I'm gonna read an honorary super chat.
I don't.
From the one and only.
Oh boy! So my aunt texted me, Rico.
Rico does lean dim, and if he can't find anything, he goes to their looks. Funny little man. Okay, Dad has it. Where is it?
When do I go to their looks? Can I get some evidence, some kind of empirical evidence, some kind of backing to this slander?
We can make a whole reel. A reel of Rico insulting people's physical appearance.
I actually write my stories and I make sure that they're balanced. I'll send you my transcript and I'll show you that I take more shots at the Democrats than I do at the Republicans.
It's more when you shoot from the hip, when your true personality comes out.
Yeah.
This poll is rigged.
The Bill Maher of High at 9.
We are dangerously close on time.
Smartmatic is over here running the YouTube polls now. Okay.
Yeah, 63% say you throw more shade at Republicans.
There's no choice for equal shade, though. The poll is rigged.
Let me tell you something.
Give people a choice for equal shade.
If this was the Florida legalization initiative, it would have just passed.
Yeah.
I don't hang with Chads.
Yeah, the Chads.
Yeah, fair enough.
No, I mean this whole reclassification thing, man. I agree with you, Dale. I think people are just like trying to hang on to some kind of positivity right now, and unfortunately, this is the lowest hanging fruit. And there's they need some kind of optimism.
I think it's all the people, all the stock bros, because once he goes to Schedule 3, their stock value is going to go up for a while, and that's going to be the time to sell because then it's just going to plummet again.
Right. It's because all their penny stocks they've invested.
Yeah, it's all their penny stocks.
Yeah.
That's why everyone's all hyped about it.
Then, Jason.
Well, and they put it in their Q4 fundraising deck, so.
They have done that too.
Yeah. It's important.
Yeah, but trying to sell stock in a company that doesn't have a license to manufacture marijuana, I think that might be fraud.
Yeah, investor fraud in this industry, Dale, for shame. They would never.
Oh, no. Right?
Exactly. You ready, Rico?
Shout out to Denver, I guess. Shout out to Denver, if you will.
It's Denver. There's the rebuttal. There's the rebuttal right there. There's the rebuttal.
Love to Aunt Linda.
Absolutely.
She says. Yeah, she says that you do cut the Dems a bigger break overall.
Okay, can I get some evidence? Can I get some evidence of this?
That's her opinion, bro. That's her opinion. This is an opinion show.
I love the fact.
This is an opinion show.
Can we do a reel? Can we make a reel of Rico just saying
all
orange
the
man,
liberals,
orange man,
all the
orange
liberals tell me that I talk too much shit about Joe Biden and Kamala Harris has failed.
I don't think that's even possible.
All the Republicans say, yeah, all the Republicans say that that I'm doing the same to their people. So that must mean that I'm doing it right.
That must mean I could agree with that part, Rico. I could agree with that part. If you're pissing everybody off, you're doing something right.
100%.
I love it.
That's my litmus test.
Keep it coming, baby.
Yeah.
You know I like that backpedaling, Jason. Keep on coming at me.
I don't need to backpedal at all. I'm forward stepping.
All right.
Do the rope-a-dope there, Rico.
Yes, sir. So up next, she is the light-skinned Candace Owens of cannabis industry and the conservative voice that America needs to hear. Come to the stage next. She is behind Kind Cannabis Consulting and 501c3 named by Justice Serve, and here to give us the closing story of the day is none other than Jenny Beth Dills.
Whew, here we go again, because pew, pew, pew. More gun talk, because the DOJ is doubling down on a claim that medical marijuana patients endanger public safety if they own guns. The Justice Department's doubling down on its position that medical marijuana patients who possess firearms endanger public safety, pose a greater risk of suicide, and are more likely to commit crimes to fund their drug habit, justifying in the government's eyes, a federal ban on gun ownership by cannabis consumers. Following a U.S. Supreme Court ruling last month that upheld the constitutionality of government setting certain gun restrictions in a case centered around domestic violence-related prohibitions, the justices remanded a pending cannabis and Second Amendment rights case back to the lower court for reconsideration. God, we passed the buck so much. Late last week, plaintiffs and DOJ submitted briefs in a separate case that responded to the potential implications of the High Court's latest decision for the federal statute barring gun ownership by cannabis consumers. In the filing submitted to the U.S. Court of Appeals for the 11th Circuit, DOJ urged the panel to affirm an initial district court ruling that deemed the cannabis and firearms ban to be constitutional, while appellants are requesting a reversal of the order. This is the latest development in the two-year case, with a group of Florida medical cannabis patients arguing that their Second Amendment rights are being violated because they cannot lawfully buy firearms so long as they are using cannabis as medicine, despite acting in compliance with state law. Former Florida Agricultural Commissioner Nikki Fried, who now serves as a chairwoman of the Florida Democratic Party, first raised a lawsuit against DOJ in 2022 in her capacity as state official. She's no longer party to the lawsuit since leaving office, and her GOP successor has declined to get involved. In the background of this case, voters in the state are set to decide on a broader recreational marijuana legalization initiative on the ballot in November. Jason? I'm failing. This is a long article, and I just scrolled all the way to the end of it. We're not in danger of shooting people, but we are in danger of scrolling to the wrong place. Keep going.
That's how you became a Republican?
There we go. Armed drug users endanger the public in multiple ways, the Justice Department said in its new filing in the cannabis and guns case, adding that the Supreme Court ruling in the United States versus Rahimi, demonstrated that the governments are afforded significant leeway to enact firearms regulations. Individuals who possess firearms while engaged in regular use of illegal drugs endanger public safety in multiple ways. First, drug users may mishandle firearms or use firearms to commit crimes because of drug-induced changes in physiological functions, cognitive ability, and mood. A footnote in DOJ's brief also argues that the Biden administration's ongoing move to reschedule marijuana would not undermine the current statute. The Justice Department has claimed in multiple federal cases over the past several years that the statute banning cannabis consumers from owning and possessing guns is constitutional because it's consistent with the nation's history of disarming dangerous individuals. You guys can read the rest of this at our website, hi99news.com, because this is a very long, monotonous brief that just lets us know they don't want us to have guns, which is insane because, once again, constitutional law is equal protection under the Constitution, and we look at other societies when they disarm the people, what happens? The government takes over.
Government takes over.
If the bad guys are the only ones with guns and the bad guys are the government, I don't want to live here anymore. I'm going to Italy. Amalfi Coast, here I come. Pew, pew.
Interesting.
I want to hear Dale's opinion, though, Dale. I mean, like, what would you, if you were taking this lawsuit up, what would your argument be specifically?
Well, the Bruin case took away, I don't know, a century's worth of gun restrictions. And they said, no, nonsense. We're going to look at what it says in the amendment, which is the right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Pretty simple. And they pointed them back to when the Constitution Amendment was enacted in 1791. How was it dealt with then? And a lot of the things going on now, like felons, can't have guns. Back in the day, if you were a felon, they hung you. You weren't alive as a felon because it was a capital offense. So now they have to look at other things, and they're stretching to find other comparisons because no one gave two shits about whether you used drugs in 1791 or even you could buy heroin from the Sears and Roebuck catalog by the end of the 1800s. Okay? So there was no historical precedent. If you got shit-faced drunk and went out and shot the town up, like on Tombstone, they take your guns away until you sobered up. But a lot of this, the rest of this stuff, I think the government was put in its place, and they're now scrambling to find rationalizations for taking our guns away. I mean, I lost my gun rights when they convicted me. In fact, I lost them when they indicted me because they took them all. My kids all have them, or my sons do, and I'm not ever going to get them back. And it's irritating as hell because I used to have a concealed weapons permit issued by the sheriff because I was working with law enforcement to go after bad guys, and now I can't even own a gun. And it's not right. Just because I'm a felon, I was a non-violent felon. Why would I lose my gun rights?
I totally agree with that.
Because we say so. We don't want you to have them. And the same thing, I smoke weed. So what? I eat mushrooms, take an acid. So what? I've been sex with wild and crazy girls. Does that make me not qualified now to have a gun too? Come on.
Wow, Dale.
Yeah.
Nonsense. Read it. It says it. I'll be a friend. Hey, I was in the Navy, man. We still go on shore leave. I'm not going to drop any names. But
coastal communities.
Dale lived a life.
California girls at every port.
Sheep dip and double rubber. That was what I told all the Marines.
Damn.
Oh, man.
Double bag Dale is what we're going to call him.
After I gave you a shot for penicillin, it's like, I don't care what she looked like. Sheep dip and double rubber, dude, because you're getting a shot in the head.
Oh, boy.
Oh, man.
Yes.
The 60s and 70s.
Clip that, please.
Oh, yeah, Jenny Beth, we got some shit to talk about, girl.
All right. I'm here for it. I love the war stories and the peacetime stories, too, apparently.
Hey, man. Everybody needs love.
Off duty, but still on duty.
Still doing the duty.
Oh, my God.
There we go. All right. Oh, man.
So,
I don't know. I'm so sick of this gun argument. I really am. Please let us have our guns. Like,
I just can't.
It's not, if we're deciding that it's about illegal drugs and you're in a state that allows you to legally possess and consume it, especially for medicinal purposes, like, I think that illegal drug argument is kind of heading out the window. I get federal illegality. I really do. But I'm just.
But let's keep it real. Do gun laws really keep guns out of the hands of people that shouldn't have them?
No, they just keep registered guns out of the hands of people that shouldn't have them.
Like, to me, the gun restriction doesn't even make sense in the first place. It's all strictly for optics, for people to have a political wedge.
It's just a surprise.
What's really, what's really interesting is the states with the most minimalistic gun laws. Those are where the guns come from, in the places where they're most restricted, right? So a lot of the illegal guns in New York and they've been traced to New York and the more liberal states. They come from Florida. They come from all these red states that have super open gun laws. So there's a lot more of this data that the DOJ, if they really wanted to do their jobs, which they never will, they can dig into. They can get to the root of some of this shit. Right? But they're not going to do it. They just want to take away people's rights. So it's trash. Absolutely.
Well, Rico, my aunt just texted me again. You're gonna love this.
Aunt Linda's on a roll. We love you, Aunt Linda.
She says the right.
Put on me, Auntie.
Yeah, she says the right to own a gun is so you can protect yourself from the government.
Damn straight, Aunt Linda. I knew I loved her. Yep.
But what? Hey, and I don't. I really don't mean this as a joke, like at all. I mean, with what happened with Trump this past weekend, this is crazy. I think it's absolutely crazy that this happens to somebody who just might as well be the president in a couple of months again, and nobody's even talking about it. Everybody's talking about the failure of Secret Service, the failure to stop this dude. You got people on the right that are saying that they are saying that it's a setup, and then you have people on the left saying that is a setup. But nobody's talking about these gun issues that are at the top of mind of everybody when the damn presidential candidate got shot.
I don't think the issue is
where are our priorities?
I don't think the issue is with guns. I think the issue is with mentally unstable people getting access to guns.
I'm 100% for giving someone a mental health screening before selling them a fucking gun, because the gun didn't shoot Trump. The psycho holding the gun shot
exactly.
Trump. My gun has never shot me, not once.
No. You're trying to. What I'm saying is you're trying to sidestep the issue. The issue here. Right, like all this gun talk and everything. You got Hunter Biden and his ordeal that he's going through. You got all these
Hunter Biden is a crackhead.
Hold on. And then this is directly tied to the shit that we're talking about right here, right? And then the president's getting shot too. Like we need to actually have this adult conversation and stop taking these side steps and blaming things that it ain't.
Okay, well, let's have the adult conversation. The UK has banned guns, right? So what are they doing? They have these giant fucking machete things. No, they're chopping each other the fuck up. I mean, crazy people are going to do crazy shit no matter what tool you put in their hands to do it. But if there's a crazy person coming at me with a gun, I'm more comfortable that I have mine to come back with.
Nobody said that. Nobody even took it there. Well,
she did.
I took it there. We were talking about weapons.
Hold on. It's not about just mental health. We got this shit going on everywhere. And then if you want to take it to the mental health route, like nobody is doing anything to assist mental health in a tangible way in this nation.
I agree.
We got a whole lot of issues here. And instead of just blaming it on the right, blame it on the fucking left, how about we just have a real sit down and talk about what can be done rather than just trying to point fingers, because it ain't gonna happen that way.
Boy, we got Aunt Linda on her box.
I do not believe that that anybody should be have their rights to own a gun restricted. When you have ex-military everywhere, you got all these folks everywhere saying that weapons of war should not be readily available to just anybody anywhere. Like, we got to have that real conversation, man. That's just real talk.
Oh, but the conversation, the Supreme Court put it back onto the simple language of the Second Amendment. And if you don't like the Second Amendment, you can amend the Constitution.
Right.
Okay. Otherwise, people have a right to keep and bear arms. Whether we like it or not, the old balancing acts, the balance of the state versus the individual, that was all thrown in the trash by the Supreme Court with the Bruin case. No. Read it, go back and look how it was handled in 1791, and that's our starting point. And unless you've got some other reason to restrict somebody's gun rights, the answer is don't. Now, you're not going to get a lot of help from those kinds of positions in trying to weigh and balance, factors like mental health and shit like that. There's going to have to be a judicial finding that someone is a danger to themselves or others, and those statutes exist in many states before you can restrict them. And I tell my friends who want to limit guns, it's like, well, yeah, but read the amendment. It's pretty clear. And if you want things to be different, you have to change what the amendment says. And the Supreme Court has focused clearly on very clear language. The right to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed. Period. If you don't like that, then you can change the Constitution, or we have to find ways to deal with this within the tools we have. Ronald Reagan cut mental health people loose in California and set them on the streets. Now they live in fucking tents under bridges everywhere, and we don't seem to know what the hell to do with them. And some of them talk to the moon. You give them a gun, they're liable to shoot you. How do we prevent that?
We also
beat up their wife to kill them.
Well, we also took all the mental health
away
care out of the prison system in California because it's expensive and we don't care about fixing people.
No, we warehouse them and hire incompetents to watch them.
Mm-hmm.
I can tell you, I was warehoused. There were fucking incompetents watching me. It was a joke system that I was thrown into for 5 years.
Dale had the store open.
And that was all, and like you said, Dale, that came from Republican God himself, Ronald Reagan.
I don't know if I would go that far, but
well, yeah,
I mean,
well,
no one's
Lanham
perfect,
Spencer,
Rico. No one's perfect.
LPS statute here in California grew out of closing down mental institutions, and they should have. There were too many people mentally institutionalized, and they needed to clear them out. But, you know, it's either all or nothing is what we do in this country with politics, and they just opened the doors and threw them all out. And it's like, now what do we do with them? Well, I don't know. It's your problem.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's not a answer to what we do with people who are mentally ill. We just don't want to come up with a solution to that. So you're right. We throw them in jail.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it was like Andy of Mayberry. The drunk came in, he got drunk, locked himself in jail, and the next morning he sobered up, walked away. You know, that's not a way to handle alcoholism, but it worked for the show. And that's what we do now with crazy people. I was in prison with a lot of people that were mentally ill.
Mm-hmm.
And they did criminal acts because they were mentally ill.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
And I don't think they deserve to be in prison, but that's the system we got.
Yep. There's going to be a whole lot more thoughts and prayers coming up every single week, and we get another issue. So, anyways, yeah, interesting conversation, man, and it's not going to stop anytime soon. So, and I'm not taking shots at the right at all. Not even a little.
All right.
But anyways, thank you all for joining us for yet another episode of High at 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to the super fans showing love, getting their comments posted live on the big screen, and Auntie Linda out there, man. Bring the evidence.
Shout out to Annie Linda.
Still got nothing but love for you. Big shout out to our live audience and online supporters catching us across all media platforms, tuning in each day to the headlines of chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. Our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table. Production team, Cloud Media Partners, all the sponsors keeping our lights on and AV struggles to a minimum. As always, Cannabis Sativa L, the reason why we show up to read these stories every single day. Thank you too. It has been Thursday, July 18th, 2024. The show's over. You've all been blessed with top industry headlines. Hope it was enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until tomorrow. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News, the cannabis industry's #1 daily news show. And for today, I'm going to take it out to the purple state, the purpling of the great state of Texas. Stone Slade, you going to take us out, my man?
Oh, man, I got nothing for you, man. I'd just say don't fall for the carrot. Don't vote down ticket. If you vote all red and all blue, then you're not a fucking self-thinker.
Yeah, we need ranked choice voting, dude.
Whoa.
We need that across.
Whoa.
We need it. We need it.
No.